here in Sakai, Japan. I'm Brian Jones with Mario O'Brien. We have an exciting matchup, a rematch of the European final from a year ago. Great Britain facing off against Sweden. It's definitely going to be an exciting one, Mario.
Sweden coming in was not favored in their quarterfinal matchup. They ran into the Japanese team and they caught a break. It was a windy game, which gave advantage to their height and length. They were able to steal a win from Japan, and here they are in semifinals. This is going to be an exciting game, Brian. There are some extremely talented players on both sides, and I think it's going to be on the backs of those players that either team is going to come away with a victory.
For sure, and we look at Great Britain. You know, we've got a name that me and you are both familiar with, Jolien Dahl, the American coming over, dual citizenship, British as well. But looking at Great Britain, we want to look at Daniel Furnell, number 40, nicknamed the Colonel. He's really a fire starter for the English offense as they go out there. Great Britain, great job, great height, exciting plays. Same with the Swedes. Go out there, we're going to see number 8 is going to be making big plays. Number 8, Sebastian Sperong, had a fantastic game in the quarters yesterday, coming down with absolutely everything. Had 5 assists and 3 goals. Going to be huge for the Swedes, and we're about to get started. Looks like we're going to have Great Britain started on offense.
Yeah, those matchups are going to be key. Talking with the GB captains before the game, they said they were going to put Dahl on Sperong for this game. Dahl, one of the best defenders in the world, certainly has proven himself on the national stage in the United States. I think if Great Britain can stymie Sperong, they're going to have a much better chance for success.
Furnell lets this one roll out the back. Great Britain will get it on the goal line to start things out. Both teams usually running a horizontal stack. We shouldn't have to wait too long to see one of those big hucks go up and start this game out with a bang.
Absolutely. The conditions totally different than yesterday. Looking across the field, none of the flags are moving. Compared to yesterday, we had 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts. This game is going to be much more exciting in terms of big plays, simply because we're going to see the athletic prowess and the skill come into play. But just as I say that, we see Sweden coming out with the zone.
3-man cup, almost with a 4th man coming in there, really trying to force Great Britain upfield. Furnell. Looking around, Gordon is available along the sideline. Furnell breaking the zone, going through, and Britain has a jailbreak. Getting trapped on the sideline. 4 men are around the disc for Sweden. This is the zone they used yesterday, and it starts things off with a hand block. Sweden having an opportunity near the end zone. 22, upfield, along the sideline. Quick give and go. Sweden has some big throwers trying to fit this one in just along the goal line, and we have either a pick or a foul on the play, not sure what. Some discussion going on.
Sweden taking advantage of their length already. It's not always in the air. Sometimes it's on the mark that you're able to generate a block. And here we see at the first point of the game, they come out zone, point block, with now resulting in an opportunity for their first break.
Sundqvist looking back. Sperong. Hagberg looking for the goal, and Sweden starts things off with a break to start off this semifinal.
Sweden, yesterday they were an underdog against Japan. I think they're still an underdog here in this game, but talking to the coach before the game, they don't feel like an underdog. They believe that they have just as much of a shot as any team in this tournament to win a championship. In my conversation with the coach before the game, he mentioned a number of times, he said, you know, we came away with a win yesterday, but we're not to our goal yet. That's absolutely what you have to do if you're any team in this tournament. You have to set the goal of being the champion of the world, being the #1 team in the tournament. It doesn't matter what you're ranked. If you go in telling yourself that you know, we're the 8th best team in the tournament. There's no way you're going to knock off one of those top teams. Sweden coming in with the right mentality. They were exhausted after their game against Japan. Coach told me that they really are going to rely on their mental focus and drive early in the game to generate some momentum. They come out and get their first break doing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, you talk about that mental fortitude. I think there's a lot of teams across the board in Ultimate that are afraid to state their goal as let's be number one, especially for a team like Sweden coming in. But you know what? That's the way, like you said, that mental focus to be number one is going to help you achieve to the best possible that you can do.
You have to believe that you can be the best. Otherwise, you will never be the best.
Sweden again trying to trap along the sideline. Really tight zone there, verge of double teaming for Nell. Not looking to swing, going back into the teeth of the zone.
Looking at this set, you're seeing a 1-3-2-1 set from Sweden. You're always going to see the same man marking, call him the chase. Then you see a wall of 3 who take away the downfield throws in the middle. Then 2 wings behind them, and then 1 defender sitting deep.
I really want to see Great Britain here try to attempt a hammer to really break open the zone, to be more patient, not necessarily do a classic dump swing style against the zone, but find the holes deep and exploit it with a hammer. There's a lot of space available for a hammer, and it's not windy right now for Nell. Parslow, the hammer to the break side. Now gaining yards, opening things up for Great Britain. Trying to force one in there. Sweden comes up with the D. Starting things off quickly yet again. Going deep. Defenders there for Britain. Goes over everybody's head. Great Britain survives. You should see a lot of that from Sweden today. They love the quick strike bomb.
Yeah, maybe not the best choice here. Only 1 offensive player in the area and 3 defenders for Great Britain. Great Britain's zone offense looks patient, but in my opinion, a little bit too casual. They're not being aggressive enough, and it doesn't always necessarily need to be with the throws. You can really generate movement in the defense by using aggressive fakes, by just having a handler after they throw a swing, go up there and sort of cut through the zone. That's going to move the defenders around. Right now, Great Britain just standing around quite a bit with their zone offense.
I would like to see a lot more handler crashing and active movement from the handlers. I think for now really has to get in there and really dictate the pace here of the zone and exploit it. These holes open up only for a fraction of time, and a huge bid by the defender, but Great Britain now is on a jailbreak, really moving it quickly near the goal line. Parslow wants the hammer but fits it in for the goal, and Great Britain ties this game up at 1.
And that goal comes because they stretched the disc all the way over to the sideline, making it very difficult for the Swedish team to decide who they're going to defend. You can see that the wing gets sucked a little bit into the middle there, which allows the throw up the sideline, eventually leading to the goal. It goes back to the very first swing pass all the way to the sideline, which created the space for that cutter to come in behind the wing.
But if you're Sweden, you gotta like the opportunity you had there. You had a great chance for a layout D. These guys are ready to go, and you talked about in the beginning of the game, the coach said they're gonna rely on their mental focus. You know what? Sweden looks ready so far in this game, getting a hand block, and there was 2 layout opportunities there in that possession. Gotta like where Sweden's coming from. Great Britain now has had a chance to settle down. Let's see what their D can do, especially with if Julian Dahl is on the field. Looks like he's actually gonna sit out this first D point.
Yeah, and I love the game plan from Sweden. You know, it's not a windy day. I'm sure that Great Britain was thinking, okay, it's not a windy day. We're going to come out. They're going to be playing man-to-man. And they came out zone, both of their first 2 points.
Sweden, big swing to get off the line. Going deep immediately. 2 men there for Britain. Just too far to the left side, and 2 defenders there as well.
Not the right shot. He wasn't even open when that one got thrown.
Wilkinson going deep. 1-on-1 matchup. Britain comes down with it with the left hand. Lord looking for the dish along the end zone, and Great Britain gets their break back immediately. Tom Abrams with the goal. Great Britain 2, Sweden 1.
Excellent job by Lord boxing out on that deep throw. The throw floated just a bit, and that's really all it takes for a defender to come in and make a play. Lord did a great job using his body at the very last second to keep the defender out of there. Goes up with his left hand, immediately looks to the dump, and eventually leads to a goal.
We knew Sweden was going to come in and take the opportunities to go deep, but that seemed like an opportunity that could have waited or been set up better, and it's a long huck. You've got a lot of space to go. That's a 50-yard huck opportunity. Not sure that was the right call.
Yeah, not the best decision. So looking back on that matchup from last year in the European Championships, both of these squads are mostly the same in terms of their key players. Sweden coming back with 11 players from that championship game last year. They're pretty much the same in terms of like who's doing the damage. In terms of Great Britain, they've got a bigger roster, but again, most of their roster is the same. So many of those same players from that game are here in that game. I'd say the one big difference, Great Britain has Jolien Dahl.
Bringing it underneath, along the sideline. Dahl is matched up with Sperong. Big player for Sweden yesterday. Puts a throw out to space. And Sweden, a little bit of mocking tone. Dahlberg going up the line all the time in the world and ties this game at 2.
Sperong with the touchy flick up the line. That's a really difficult throw to a cutter moving straight away from you, but Sperong made it look effortless.
A little bit of showmanship there by Dahlberg after the fact. These two teams do have a history meeting in the European final. We love rivalries in this sport, though. And we'll see another one today, USA-Canada in the following semifinal.
Yeah, both of these semifinals have a lot of backstory. Of course, we've talked about this is a rematch from the European Championships, and that USA-Canada semifinal is a rematch of the 2008 final, where Canada was able to win gold. A number of USA versus Canada matchups going on in semifinals play, Brian.
Across the board, yeah, mixed as well as women's will all be taking place at 11 local time here as things get started off. USA Canada also battled in the Open Masters yesterday, Canada taking that one. Sweden still in their zone to start things off. Ford. Back to Furnell. Bevan.
As you take a look at this zone offense, now that they're a bit more spread out, but anytime your zone offense sort of plays within a small box, it gives the advantage to the defense. As a defensive team, you love to play 7-on-7 in a really tiny box. That makes all the throws and windows really small. But as an offensive team, you want to be playing with a lot of space. That means that even though the disc might be on the other side of the field, you need to spread the defense out. When you spread the field, that's going to create windows for the player with the disc. Even though you're not necessarily a threat to catch the disc right away, the defense sees it as a threat, and that pulls the defense apart, allowing you to create those spaces.
Also got to like what you see from the Sweden zone. You see here usually a 1-3-2-1 that we're seeing here from the Swedes. A lot of times that 3 will act as a wall and really tighten up. But you can see the center of that cup is back up and shifting almost like a middle would in a 3-man cup. That's changing the spacing. And sometimes very tight, sometimes very wide, depending on the crashing. Right now I see Great Britain using great space downfield and really making sure that they have the matchups that favor them at some points. The mismatches, the 2-on-1s downfield or the 2-on-1s when the cup widens up and allows for the handler crash right there. Stoppage on the play. Gilbert with the disc. Getting it off the line.
And that swing needs to come immediately if you're going to lose 10 yards. It can't be dump and then look right back where the disc came from. You have to get the disc off the line and swing.
Dowell, Furnell, Gordon. Ellie Gordon, Next Gen Tour 2011 last year. Dowell, swing it over the sideline. Great Britain really being patient at this point. Starting to get used to the Swedish zone. Back foul called on the play.
Great Britain is so patient. They're not forcing any throws, and
same time, they're not going with low risk throws. They did have a blade over the top, but that is the opportunity you want when the four-man cup collapses, leaving that space downfield. Big play by Great Britain, preserves possession.
Sweden transitioning to man.
Furnell, vertical stack downfield for the Brits.
Excellent.
Nice.
That break backhand is absolutely impossible
Leads
to
to
guard.
the goal. Great Britain still on top, 3-2.
Furnell executing the fundamentals on this breakthrough. You're going to actually see him pivot 45 degrees behind him in order to make this throw. A lot of times you don't want to just step out because your defender is actually there. You want to pivot perpendicular to where your target is going to be. Excellent job stepping way out, a little bit of air bounce on that backhand, and the continuation for the goal.
Justin Ford, we've been hearing his name lately. His first goal of the game.
Ford has had absolutely an incredible tournament. He's been making plays specifically here on the showcase field. And what playing zone does is it eliminates those players who have been such a threat as cutters during the tournament. It really puts more pressure and more onus on the handlers to make plays. So far, Great Britain staying patient, and we're on serve.
Britain come out in straight man. Sweden really holding the disc, not looking early, didn't have their first option available. Lederson up the line, looking for the hook opportunity, not hesitating at all. And the man is there, towing the line. Dahlberg right in the end zone, stuffs it in, big layout, tight quarters. Sweden ties the game at 3.
Mental mistake there by Great Britain. Just getting beat to the cone when you're the only man in the end zone is an absolute no-no. Beautiful throw up the line here, and we're going to see the Great Britain defender just get beat on a burner cut straight to the cone.
It actually looked like Dahlberg may have stepped out there. Not sure which one was in, but nonetheless, we have a goal on the board. Jonathan Sorgen with the goal. Sorgen, excuse me.
Take a look at this replay. I think he had one of his feet down for sure before. He caught the disc, then one of those feet were in.
I only got 3 curries because everybody was fucking vague about what they like. There's a curry one in there though if you want it.
Fans starting to trickle in as some of them have completed their play here this weekend.
For
And
now.
the wind's starting to pick up just a little bit, at least more than the beginning of the game.
And we've seen some swirling throughout this tournament, in the stadium particularly. So just because we see wind on the flags, we don't have a great idea of what we could experience on the field. And some reports, though, said that the wind on one side of the field is blowing one way, and then widthwise to the other side of the field, it's blowing the other way. Britain, though, breaking through this zone, really have become patient and look comfortable now compared to the opening point of the game. Looking back for Furnell. Staying patient for now. Great Britain has to like the disc in his hands. Give and go. Brooks.
Furnell truly controlling the pace here for Great Britain from that handler spot against the zone.
Up the line is available for the goal. Great Britain goes up 4-3.
And it's just what you said, Brian. They look comfortable against that zone. As a defensive leader, you have to be challenging the other team to think. At this point, we've seen the same look from Sweden a number of times in a row. They're understanding where the holes are. They're understanding how to beat that zone. I think Sweden's got to come out with some type of different look next time on defense. Otherwise, Great Britain, as a handler, you love to play zone when they're throwing the same zone over and over and over.
You know what, so far, though, on the same token, I agree with you that the zone is something that should probably be adjusted for Sweden. I do like the fact that they're sticking to their identity. This is what we saw yesterday. Hucking and zone, and that was how they did it, and they're not straying from that. Even though it was a bad option for the first time the offense came out in the field, led to a Great Britain break. That offensive possession before, they just went with it immediately right there, and they're going to continue to do that for this entire game. That's what works for them. They're not going to stray away, and it gives you, as a player, a certain sort of confidence that you know what your team strategy is and you know how to execute it. Sweden starts back in their end zone. Great Britain with an opportunity on defense. Dahl on Sprung. Sprung coming in underneath. Sprung also a lefty, making it difficult to mark. Dahlberg throws almost into a poach. Going deep, yet again wide open back there. Dahl giving chase. Dahl can't get there in time, and Sweden ties this game at 4.
Julian Dahl got caught on a switch there. He was guarding Sparun, and actually his man went to make that play underneath. Julian picked it up just a little too late, and that's just a throw to where the defense can't get there. You can see the disc popping up just a little bit.
And Sweden still not straying from that style. There, though, that was a great opportunity. Like you said, Dahl's caught and out of position on a switch play. Sweden just used to taking that. You sometimes see some teams hesitate in that opportunity. Just if it's not their style or it's mistimed, Sweden's going to bomb it no matter what.
Absolutely. It's just what you were saying, Brian. That is their style, to take those risks. And early on, they're paying off.
This point, this stage in the game, we've seen the feeling out. We should start to see some adjustments from both teams at this point in time, especially two experienced teams that have been on the international scale. It's interesting to see. Great Britain right now is rolling on offense. I wouldn't do anything different there. Defense, we've got to start to find a way to take away the deep option. It's just unquestionably been beating you so far.
Yeah, and that can come from the mark. That can come from a matchup.
Ford along the sideline. Dowell looking deep. Two receivers are there for Britain. Time and space. Big catch over the top of the pile. And the Swedish defender is mad. Wishes he had that one back. Great Britain leads 5-4.
You know, as I saw that disc up, I was looking at the Great Britain receiver, and I thought he had the least likely chance to make the play. He was actually on the backside. All the other players seem to have better position, but he just makes a better read. Comes in with the sidewinder grab.
That was actually Ford with a catch. That's his second goal of the game. Dowell putting it deep. And Ford just gets up, and the defender, it was right in front of the defender's face.
That's an incredible play by Ford. He actually was out of position, reaches into the space where the defender was looking to make the play, steals a goal.
We knew we were going to see big plays, and so far we have not been disappointed on both sides. See if the Great Britain D can adjust here. With the wind dying down, these poles have been impressive so far for Great Britain if this one stays in bounds, and it will. No first throw available. Great Britain almost has them stuffed in the end zone.
And you can see they give up that first throw.
This one hanging. Great Britain with the Callahan. Dominic comes down with it. Huge play for Great Britain, now up 6-4. We see a little bit of wind there, pop that throw up, Mario. And that's what a great pole does for you.
Yeah, it forces your cutters to start a little bit too deep. It throws off that rhythm. Swedish players frustrated with each other about that, but you know, I think that the wind just got the better of that throw, and Great Britain makes an opportunistic play.
Great Britain defense now getting a little bit of momentum, and maybe that's what they need, is just to put the pressure on early, not let anything from the end zone. You're not worried too much about getting beat deep for a score all the way back there. And especially if the wind looks, if it's in anybody's favor right now, Great Britain definitely had it there going from left to right on our screen.
Let's watch the matchup. See who's guarding Sparoon. He's there in the middle of the field, the black gloves.
This pole going out of bounds for Great Britain.
We're going to see Dahl against Sparoon.
Vertical stack for Sweden.
You can see Sweden going vertical stack, and they're going to split their handlers. Sparoon off the front of the stack. He's going to go deep. Dahl calls it a pick. I'd love to see Dahl challenge Sparoon out. Dahl has to know that that's where he's one of the best players in the game, and I think he can win that matchup. It's really tough to catch an underneath or make an underneath block on a great player, especially when he's got familiar players throwing to him.
Swing from Sweden. Going deep, this one underthrown. Not sure if the wind played a factor in that one. Nonetheless, another turnover for Sweden. As we start off for Great Britain. Abrams swings it over. Up the line, Dahl. Dahl also with a cannon of an arm. Throws to no one. Miscommunication there, looked like. Debler picking up the disc. Sprung. Looking for the deep option, decides to go underneath. Dahlberg. Looking for the opening, fitting it in tightly. Great throw. Sorgren, holy cow. Fitting that went into a tight space.
The Swedish throwers have thrown all these deep shots into tight spaces. We saw going the other direction, they fit what in just inside the sideline. Then going the other way, Dahl not able to make the play on that cross field poach attempt. And here they are again fitting one in with 0 yards to spare. Sweden living by the skin of their teeth, but they're in the game.
Here we are, Great Britain 6, Sweden 5. Starting to get close to halftime. Sweden coming off with a bang, starting things off with a break out of their zone. Great Britain responding as well with a break off of a missed huck opportunity for Sweden, and then Great Britain getting another break with the Callahan putting pressure on the Swedish offense.
Let's see if we see an adjustment from the Swedes. Mostly zone so far this game.
We have an offsides call.
That was a good call on the offsides, and a number of players from the Swedish team 4 or 5 yards off the line when the pole went up. Early on, Furnell has really controlled the pace for Great Britain. He's doing an excellent job moving people around with his fakes, also orchestrating the offense against that zone. Been really impressed so far with Furnell.
This pole stays onside. Furnell back in his own end zone. Big gainer to start things off. Really spreading the field. Great Britain trying to use all the space. Furnell up the line, looking for power position. Huck deep and goal for Great Britain, now up 7-5. Ford again for his third goal of the game. He has been a beast as well. That play, Great Britain has run that a number of times all the way dating back to Labor Day. Got a chance to see them. Labor Day Championships back in Santa Cruz, California last year. Great Britain loves that play with Furnell going up the line, power position. Flick Huck perfectly out in front.
Furnell and Ford have unquestionable chemistry out there working together. And it was a well-executed play, but poorly defended initial play. The disc was caught in the middle of the end zone, and they allowed a 30-yard gainer off the back of the sack. You have to know that that's not going to be a huck. If you're that defender with that disc so far back in the end zone, a huck is definitely going to give you a chance to make a play. You have to take away the underneath.
Seven to 5, Great Britain getting close to the halftime. D-line is out on the field. Dahl with the pole. This one will not stay in, just out the back. And we see Dahl not matched up with Sprung. Instead we see Stanley out there matched up. Actually, excuse me, that looks like Harris underneath. You see a bit of a side stack here. Overloaded, unbalanced. Three handlers back. Sorgren. Sprung. Now back to Teller. Pedo Kangas. Teller. Dahlberg. Quick movement here by the Swedes. Great Britain not wanting to give up anything deep. You see a lot of cutters coming back to the handler spot almost, getting the disc for a 2-yard gain and then really trying to use that space to go deep. Pedo Kangas. Dahlberg.
Sweden's actually transitioned into a vertical stack. They came out in a split, and we did see an adjustment there by the handler defenders of GB. Initially, off the set play, they sat in the lane, not allowing that initial huck.
Dahlberg swings it over to the left side of the field. The other Dahlberg. Pedo Kangas. Underneath, big bid by Great Britain. Penny almost there. Pedo Kangas.
Great Britain defense is really locked in here on this point.
Back for Teller. really have not seen much movement since the start of this point. They've gotten to about half field, and like you said, Great Britain's defense is really locking down. You can tell there's just been no yards gained, nothing much available. Really testing the patience of the Swedes. Tato Kangas. Spurung. Underneath, Dahlberg is there. And a drop by Sweden. Innocuous pass. Underneath, a big break. Putting it deep. Julian Dahl boxes out Dahlberg for the score. Great Britain up 8-5, and we'll be back after a short break. We're back here in Sakai, Japan. Great Britain with an 8-5 lead here in the semifinal over Sweden. Great Britain's defense really has adjusted well, Mario. But here we're going to watch Julian Dahl with an excellent play.
And Julian didn't even know that this one was coming when it got thrown. Excellent job by the handler to just put it to the space away from the defender. And Julian's going to make that play almost every time. If he's got position, he's so strong, and he's a monster in the air. Finished it off with the spike. That was a big one for GB, taking the 8-5 lead.
Great Britain with the pull. Chance to take halftime for the defense. Sprung is going deep, now coming back underneath. Really want to see Sweden get the disc in his hands. Sorgren, break, Dahlberg. Dahlberg going for it in the end zone to the other Dahlberg, and Sweden gets back in the board. Returning to their roots, going deep. Cuts the lead to 2.
And the spacing was just much better, allowing that deep throw. The point before, Great Britain really tightened down on the unders, and you can't throw an under that's going to allow your offense to sort of get bunchy downfield, and there's really no space to cut into for a deep cut. In this case, it was a couple of underneath passes in the row that isolated the defender with the space deep.
8-6, Great Britain leads. The offense now coming out in the field. A lot of discussion going on. The Great Britain line, everybody getting prepped. Really important to take advantage of getting into halftime as soon as possible. Really helps your mindset. Players tend to look at the scoreboard when they're coming into halftime and really figuring out what they need to do. All the way back in the end zone. Great pull from Sweden. Fernell gets it off. Gilbert. And Sweden returns to the zone. Dowell, big break. Fernell comes up with it in the back of the end zone. Not much room for error. Gilbert. McDowell, quick movement. Schumacher dishes it off to Gilbert. Schumacher again through the zone. Gordon. Gordon looking back, lefty backhand back, and we have a call on the play.
Gordon electing for the lefty backhand instead of the flick there.
The Swedish zone is really wide at this point. Quick give and go. Looking for Fernell up the line. Now has to clear out. Back to Gilbert.
Excellent job by the Swedish defenders getting to the next pass before GB is able to throw it.
A big D and quick movement right off the bat for Sweden. Gets it back. All of a sudden with a goal. What a turn of events. That quickly, Sweden transitions. Brings this game within 1.
And that goal makes a huge difference. If Great Britain takes that one, it's 9-6. They take half with a 3-point lead. Now the Swedes able to generate a little bit of momentum going into halftime. GB Handler there just got locked in on his cutter, didn't see the defender coming in from his blind side on the wing. Throws it a bit carelessly to a streaking Handler defender, and give the defender credit for jumping in there and making the play at the right moment.
Sprung on the field for the Swedish defense. Also with the pull. Furnell back. Up to McDowell. The zone is returned very wide this time. Now 3 men only around the cup. Furnell. McDowell. Scuba to Furnell. And the zone really widens up, but they are really paying attention to the crashes very well. Putting a lot of pressure. Gilbert. This one scrapes the ground, giving Sweden another opportunity to break. Great field position. Hogberg. Looking for the break to the end zone. Sweden ties this game at 8. Big run for Sweden. Erases a 3-point lead by Great Britain. Offense here struggling to do the simple things.
Sweden sticks to their guns again with the zone, and they are rewarded. GB calling timeout.
Great Britain just needing to call this timeout to settle down. Sweden just able to quick strike transition. They're so good at that. Seems like Swedish really feed off that defensive intensity. And again, knowing their identity, there's no question that Sweden knows what type of team they are.
So taking a look at how things have developed here leading up to this semifinal. Just taking a look at the teams that have been involved, you can see that only Finland was able to break seed and make it into the quarterfinals. All the other teams were seeded to end up at least in the quarters. The biggest surprise, of course, was Sweden with the upset of Japan. And looking at this bracket, I think a lot of people are surprised to see United States and Canada matching up in semis as opposed to the finals. Canada actually dropped a game in their power pool matchup against Japan. It's really shaping up to a final that I don't think a lot of people would have been expecting. Certainly no one expecting Sweden or Great Britain to end up in the final, but we are going to see one of those two teams face off against either Canada or United States.
United States having a little bit of trouble early on with Finland. The game was tied at 5, as you can see with a final score of 17-7. United States just adjusted. That club revolver that the United States is based on has a tendency to try to do things pretty, making the offense look easy, and it takes them a while to adjust in a windy scenario like we saw yesterday, where they just need to start putting things up and figuring out when to huck it and when to time those plays. As soon as they did that, revolver is filled with the athletes that are capable of playing that style. Canada, on the other hand, had no problem with Germany, only got broken once towards the end of the game. Of course, Sweden over Japan, and Great Britain with another upset. Australia was looking good, was looking poised to make a run to the finals, possibly win it, be the underdog in that scenario, the Cinderella story. Great Britain quashed those dreams yesterday in quarters. After the timeout, we see Sprung back in the field again for Sweden. Big play potential there. Great Britain has looked comfortable at times in the zone, but just has not been executing on the simple fundamentals on the last couple possessions.
Nice pull there by Sweden. This one's going to pin Great Britain on the sideline to start.
A little bit of discussion of whether or not that disc went out. For now, bringing it up to the brick mark. Furnell. Really want to see Furnell get active here.
Yeah, and he tried to do it there. He made that first pass and tried to get it back, but his handler didn't see him.
McDowell doing a good job of invading the space. Call on the play, but a little bit of bump on the mark. Looks like this might be a good call.
I think the block was clean, but there was definitely some contact as he was pivoting.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing for sure. Pressure from Sweden, though. I really want to see more cutting from the Great Britain in the zone. It's so wide, and it moves so much in a reaction. You need multiple players coming in and out of the cup and giving easy options right here along the sideline. Foul called on the play.
Yeah, the Great Britain zone offense really relies on the handlers to be able to solve the problems rather than smart, quick cutting. That's fine, except for when you run up against such a long, lanky zone that's been able to prevent Great Britain from breaking the mark, even when they're trying to throw a dump.
Nice blade. McDowell now getting up to Ford. Ford has to move this quickly. Having an opportunity now for Nell. Even if it's just handler crashing, it doesn't have to be necessarily the poppers coming in, but if the handlers are freely rotating and coming in, it really will make that zone collapse and open up those hammers and blades to the cross field. Throws that you can make, especially in this wind.
Exactly, those handler cuts are going to move the cup around.
Hammer over the top, and this one is D'd by Sweden. Hogberg. Mattsson. Sundqvist. Hogberg. Underneath. Bryn. Fitting it in. Juggled by Dahlberg would have been huge. That would have been for half. Now
Critical error by Dahlberg.
And a bump on the mark. Looks like that one came in just to get a reset and stoppage of play by Sweden. Mattsson. Schumacher. Lefty back to McDowell.
Sweden certainly winning the battle here, forcing Great Britain to make all very difficult throws.
Schumacher. Still not much movement. Good spacing from the Brits. Just want to see more movement. And there is the break through the zone for Nell. We have a call on the play. After the stoppage, looks like we have an equipment stoppage or an injury called. Eric Dahlberg coming in.
As we roll into halftime, one thing that's been apparent is that Sweden is executing their game plan not only with getting the looks that they want offensively, but playing the type of game and at the pace that they love to play. They love to lull lull the opposing offense to sleep. And as soon as they get the turn, they strike quickly.
Gale back to Gilbert. Big swing. Nice fake, getting it back to Ford. Along the sideline, Barslow. Schumacher. Great Britain now looking again once more comfortable in the zone. Sweden transitioning to man. Still poaching off of the marks.
Great Britain hasn't transitioned into man offense. Here we see them get into their vertical end zone set.
Schumacher, Furnell has to get the disc here. Goes up the line and does. Big layout.
This is a tough spot to score from for Furnell. Needs to look to dump the disc.
Furnell trying to fit it into a tight space. And Schumacher comes up with it, not sure. It doesn't look like he's in. We do have a injury in the play, and play restarts. Great Britain gets the easy goal, 9-8.
Sort of an awkward finish there to that point. I don't think anyone was expecting the disc to be tapped in, or seems as though there was some confusion of whether or not the disc and play was still live, but Great Britain grinds one out. They're able to score this last point, but I would say the momentum right now belongs to Sweden.
Sweden has to be happy coming in at halftime after being down by 3 points, being able to tie this game up. It's back on serve. Sweden will receive after halftime. We'll see who'll be advancing to the finals in several minutes. Thanks for listening in. This is Next Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate and Guts Championships. And we're back here in Sakai, Japan for the second half of Great Britain versus Sweden. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario Bryan, Next Gen Network's coverage of the World Ultimate and Guts Championships 2012. It's been a great game so far. Great Britain leading 9-8. They had a 3-point lead going almost into the halftime, and Sweden made a run. We've seen lots of zone, lots of hucks, lots of big plays.
Yeah, and don't be surprised to see this one get ugly. These two teams, like we've mentioned before, met in the European Championships last year. Sweden able to come away with that victory on what was still a very controversial call. Swedish player ruling that he caught a disc that has actually been seen on film as down. And some of those thoughts are definitely lingering, that they have something to prove. Don't be surprised to see the physicality increase. We've already seen a little bit of bumping on the mark. Both teams have a lot to prove, and it might come out in the physical game here.
We started to see it towards the end of the first half. Sweden really bumping in the mark, slowing down play, forcing Great Britain to be patient. Great Britain looked comfortable in the Swedish zone at times, about midway through the first half, and then late in the first half when Sweden brought that zone back, kind of reinvigorated things. Great Britain looked out of sync once again. Here they go, starting on defense. This pull coming short of the end zone. Still able to set up, and no first throw available for the Swedes. Dahl matched up with Spurung. Underneath, big bid. Wilkinson trying to get the D. Teller. Dahlberg looking underneath. Sorgren. Spurung. Spurung putting this one up. Is there. Dahlberg comes down with it. Sweden ties this game at 9.
Dahlberg just has an advantage in the air against his defender here. His defender,
have a travel call. It looks like this one's coming back.
The defender was well positioned, but Dahlberg is tall.
Defender closing in on the inside where he needs to be. Just disc was too high. Spurung really knowing his receiver there. Travel, no travel on the play. Sweden scores, tying this game at 9. Spurung so dangerous. As I said earlier, 5 assists and 3 goals against Japan, leading the way. That's nearly half the team's points. And Spurung was just a monster, coming down with almost everything in the end zone for Sweden towards the end of that game.
Dahl did an excellent job shutting down Spurung, but then near the middle of the field, Dahl got beat underneath for a cut. I think that's the time when Julian Dahl needs to challenge Spurung to go out in that short area when the throw has to be absolutely perfect. Sprung a number of times, has come underneath and then been the thrower that has sort of opened up the Swedish offense. Here it leads to a goal.
We start to see the stands fill up. Teams now eliminated, starting to pour in despite the early 9 a.m. local time start. Gilbert to Furnell. Back to Gilbert. Zone once again. Gilbert. Furnell. Gale. Just dump swinging it now. Being very patient. Quick movements. When Sweden gets the zone set, typically the offense slows down for Great Britain. Nice break to Furnell. Gordon, big gainer here. Great Britain coming off and looking very patient and comfortable. Putting this one, Gordon is wide open. Gordon with no one in sight. Great Britain goes up 10-9.
And that's going to happen if you're Sweden. Every once in a while, the offense is going to make it look easy, but that will not rattle this defense. They're used to playing this zone so much. They know that sometimes they're going to give up easy goals with good throws like that one. Furnell was able to slice through that backhand that really opened up the play. And here we see a nice bendy, blady backhand to Ollie Gordon in the back of the end zone for the easy goal for Great Britain.
You know what I like about that too is looking at the replay, no hesitation by the thrower, none whatsoever. Just gets it, sees that Gordon is open, doesn't hesitate. A less experienced team would holster that, making sure that trying to find the deep. They're knowing the space of the zone, just goes for it. Great Britain also doing an excellent job. Gordon on the left side. The deep was split by another receiver all the way on the other side of the end zone.
Yeah, the spacing has been excellent for Great Britain. I think the difference on that point was they seemed to move the disc a bit quicker earlier in the count.
This pull, another excellent pull for Great Britain coming down. Teller. Great Britain poaching off the handlers, really trying to put the disc, and the throws have come from the in-cutters deep. Dahlberg and Sprung getting a gainer. Big anticipation bid. Doesn't work out for Great Britain.
Sprung is isolated deep.
Dahlberg putting up, Harris is there. Sprung, left hand. Harris has to want that one back. Sweden ties this game up at 10.
Sweden sticking to their strategy, and we saw it a number of times in their quarterfinal matchups against Japan. Anytime Sprung is isolated deep, just put the ball up to your primetime player. We're going to see him just waiting, isolated deep. Defender in great position, but the lefty goes up and makes a great play.
Harris really fighting for position there, gets the inside. Really just needed to fight a little bit harder to get just a tidbit more upfield. Sprung reading the disc well. Harris just needing to be a little bit more aggressive. Here we are, 10-10. This game has absolutely lived up to the hype. Sprung has been a superstar all game long.
All tournament long, really.
Matson with the pull. Great Britain getting this one at the brick mark. McDowell tries to break the zone to Fjord immediately, but Hogberg with a huge D. Hogberg trying to strike quickly. Matson. The Swedish defense especially is not afraid to put up a 50-50. Hogberg looking for it. Now goes back. Big D by Great Britain and a call on the play. Parslow can't believe it. Strip is being called. That one was close. What did you see, Mario?
I think that's a strip. It looks like the Swedish receiver had both hands on the disc. He had clapped the disc. Great Britain definitely had their hand in there, but I think the rotation of the disc was stopped, and the momentum of his layout is actually what made the disc pop out. There you can see the clap.
Yeah, it's incredibly close, too. The hand is right in there as the disc is clapped. Sundquist going deep, wide open. Just miscommunication.
And here we see
Peterson with the goal.
another goal towing the sideline. Sweden loves to throw into those tight spaces, and they're good at it.
The thing that's unbelievable to me is that's a force side catch. Where was the defense for Great Britain?
I mean, the defense was sitting underneath you. As a defender, sometimes you challenge a thrower to throw into a tight window, and Sweden's just not afraid to do it. You can see the defender sitting underneath saying, okay, I'm going to be able to make a play on this disc if it goes behind me.
No,
but unfortunately,
whatsoever.
the throw is pinpoint perfect. I loved what I saw also from Sweden's defense there. They did a good job disguising it. Great Britain was actually talking about, as they were centering the disc, walking it to the brick mark, they were saying, if it's man, we're going to run our play. And that's a credit to the Swedish defense, making it look like man-to-man. That was actually their same zone that they've been playing. The wing broke off a man just as the disc was tapped in and made a play.
Sperung. Espo Lupi going out of bounds. Not a great pull for Sweden. Twice in a row they've given the brick mark to Great Britain. We see a man look again for Sweden. This time it looks like it's actually going to hold. Now, see if they do transition the zone. Just another wrinkle that Sweden is going to employ. Gale, hammer across to Gilbert. Not many options available. Quick give and go, Gilbert opening things up. Back to Furnell. Gilbert, Furnell, big layout. Trying to get up. No stoppage yet. Furnell fighting through. Furnell can take a hit. Brooks, back to Furnell. Sweden really pushing back. Fitting in tight spaces, Gilbert. Gilbert around the Brooks. Britain still spaced very well, but needs the opportunities to capitalize in the give and goes. Back to Furnell. Not afraid to go over the top. Gaining a bit of yards.
Furnell ordering his cutters around downfield.
Furnell. Gilbert looks like he's out of bounds. Sweden getting this disc back, waiting for just a Great Britain mistake.
I think the receiver could have made that play, and he was actually trying to get an advantage, taking it all the way to the sideline. Unfortunately, he makes a critical error and lets it sneak out of bounds. Sweden with another opportunity for a break.
We'll see if Sweden can capitalize on this break. We'll be right back in a few moments. We're back here in Sakai, Japan. Sweden leaving 11-10. Defense has just forced another turnover out of their zone and taking a timeout with this prime opportunity to break for the 12-10 lead, potentially. Hogberg picking up the disc. Great Britain just hasn't been patient and hasn't been executing well within the zone.
Yeah, I think it's more about their execution than their patience. They've been taking the same shots all game. again, these last two throws that they've turned over. This one was an execution error, but the adjustment they need to make in their execution against that zone is the ball just has to move quicker. When you dump and then you swing, you have to just not look downfield and just swing the disc sometimes to get the defense sprinting. When the defense is sprinting, you can throw a fake and use that momentum to open up the holes in the zone.
When the cup has to move as a unit, it's very difficult to do that at full speed. Looking for Sprung, so difficult to guard. Lefty. Sundquist, back to Sprung. Goes too far, Sprung with a rare mistake. Great Britain, though, not rushing up to the disc. Sweden able to set. I don't like this move at all. Not transitioning well out of this turnover. I would want Furnell to really rush to this disc and get things moving. Spring right off the bat. Schumacher.
There we see a handler crash.
The zone collapses and opens up along the sideline. Hammer to Furnell needs to look just to the swing right now. Ford. A hammer over the top. Brooks along the sideline. Parslow really moving the cup effectively with his fakes. Furnell back. Has the swing. Decides not to use it. Goes back into the teeth of the zone. Brooks. Furnell. There's a swing we're talking about, but the Swedish defense really moving well. Ford finding Furnell. Furnell now cutting through the zone. Great Britain breaking through Parslow. Behind, great play by Schumacher. Saves possession, Furnell. Ford. Ford through the zone, breaking through, an easy goal to Parslow. Great Britain ties this game at 11, survives that point.
And again, Sweden gets scored on, but that's part of the game plan. That's okay when you're playing this zone. You're still generating turnovers. You're still generating opportunities for Ds. The offense is still taking risky passes.
If
it's
working.
If
it's not for Schumacher, they're making a great saving catch. Sweden's getting that turnover back, and they're going to have another opportunity. It's been a back and forth game. Both defenses have found ways to generate turnovers and have the ability to strike quickly. I really like that Great Britain's been able to get their offense off the field, get the defense on, go to work, get one of those nice pulls in the back of the end zone. Let your defense get you back on top.
Yeah, it's got to come from your man-to-man defense right now. If you're Great Britain, they've done a good job shutting down the Swedish cutters underneath, and I think that's the key. Sweden throwing in within the motion of their offense, they're tough to guard. But I think off of these initial plays, if you can take away the initial underneath passes, there's not as much space deep to cut into.
Great Britain really poaching now, throwing their own zone. Very poachy, almost a 3-3-1. Really protecting the unders and sagging off the handler, Sprung. Through the zone, breaking quickly, Dahlberg. Now Great Britain transitioning. Dahl back, Linderson. Pick called on the play.
When you play a transition zone, you don't always get the matchups that you want. I think Sprung has an advantage downfield.
Teller going deep. Defenders there for GB. Bevan on the inside position, easy D. Dahl stretching the field deep, is open, but call on the play. So we have a timeout by Great Britain. We'll see if they can score on this possession. We'll be back in a few moments with Next Gen Network's coverage of the 2012 World Ultimate and Guts Championships. And we're back here in Sakai, Japan. Just a friendly word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the second half of our first round of pool play game between, Today's games are encoded by Elemental Technologies, providing video processing solutions to deliver streaming content to any screen, anytime, anywhere, all at once.
You know, looking at how this point has progressed, give credit to the Great Britain defense for making those adjustments that we talked about them having to make. They've been sitting their handlers in the lane, which does two things. One, it takes away deep looks, and two, it takes away the underneath looks. And Sweden has had most of their deep strikes when they're able to catch a pass underneath, and then there's lots of space deep. They made that adjustment. Sweden tries to huck from a handler position. Everyone was too deep. There were defenders back there, and the defense makes a play.
McCartney, big gainer. Nice switch by Sweden. Dahlberg almost getting the D.
This one's going to come back.
Abrams coming screaming from the stack, though, and that Dahlberg recognizing the play, almost getting the block. Abrams. Dominic. Frazier. Big block by Sweden, gets it back.
Wow.
Incredible play.
Kick block, save, and a beauty.
Swedish offense with another chance to hold. Dahl matched up downfield on Sprung. Dahl really has not been able to minimize Sprung so far. Dahlberg. The other Dahlberg. Sorgren. Dahlberg. Quick flick. Dahlberg toes the line, gets in the end zone. This one ruled maybe not in. Stoppage on the play.
Again, Sweden's length helps them generate a turnover. They've been doing it with the marks, and in this case, they do it with the kick block.
Still some discussion going on.
That's an incredible block. Really just sold out completely. A lot of times you'll just lift one foot in the air to try to make them adjust their throw, but he just sold out his whole body. Looks like a karate kick.
Looks like from the replay, Dahlberg actually had 1 foot still on the ground. Looks like this is a reasonable call by Great Britain. Coming in. Really fighting for position. For Great Britain, its defense here is tough. They not like Sweden will throw it into any space. Lots of poaching. Now back. Sprung going to the cone. Too many cuts all at once. Sorgren. Looking for an option over the top to Sprung. Sprung gets open, but call on the play. This one's coming back perhaps with a travel call.
Actually a nice bit of footwork there from the handler. Got his defender moving the wrong way with the shoulder shimmy and drops in that touch flick to the break side.
May have been a pick call. Sorgren, call on the play.
The Swedish cutters are a bit crowded there in the back of the end zone. A good defender will actually position himself so that any movement by a cutter will lead to a pick.
This one is up, and Sweden comes down with it. 12-11 they lead. The Swedish offense holds.
And there we see that touchy flick over the top from the handler. That's an incredibly difficult throw, and he made it look easy.
Great Britain defense gaining a turnover on that point, not able to put it in. Impressed with the defense from the Swedish offense. This team is filled with athletes.
Sweden's got to be coming zone. They've stuck with it the entire game. That's where they're finding their advantage. And at this point in the game, I think no reason to go away from it.
It still produced turns, still produced chances against this Great Britain offense. By now, should be more comfortable in it. Sprung. This game still has a long way to go. It's gone back and forth for now. They need that type of movement still to move the cup out of position. Now Gilbert going through. Type of attack. McDowell now finding Schumacher on the sideline. Call on the play.
The game's starting to get slower. A few more calls. Players are tired, trying to win with their mouths.
Still some discussion going on. Sweden really loving to slow the pace down on defense, but as soon as there's a turnover, we've seen them rush to the disc and take any open huck opportunity. Matson on the mark. Gilbert, hammer to Ford. Nobody there. Call on the play. So Gilbert may have to take an injury.
Matson's put on a really physical mark all game. And I don't know if I've ever said this before, but he's having a great marking game, Matson. He's been there all day, really forcing some difficult throws. I think he got that first block on the very first point, and that's still in the heads of the handlers. They're very cautious. They're making an extra lean and trying to use their length to throw around Matson. There we see him taking away that around throw.
Really want to see someone get into the heart of that cup there, but they're able to get it off the line nonetheless. Gilbert. Furnell creeping upfield. McDowell.
Matson leaning his shoulder into every mark.
McDowell. Over the top, Gilbert. Ford. Furnell. Along the sideline. Wanting to take the deep shot, not available. Has the hammer across field and looks for it. McDowell, Parslow, back to McDowell. Gilbert busting up the lines. Now Sweden finally transitioning into men. Parslow. Furnell. Coming up the line, Furnell. Parslow booking it up the line. Up to Parslow, too far, and Sweden gets a D.
And Furnell puts his hands over his face. He knows that that was the wrong decision. He chose too difficult of an option on that throw. He's a great thrower, but even great throwers are going to miss when the degree of difficulty is high.
Got to go back to Lou Burrs, what he said about another game yesterday. Furnell tried to make the great throw. Not the good throw, not the easy one there. Trying to make too hard of a play. If it's great, it's going to be a great play. If it's on target. That one just not needed with how much they worked up through to that end zone line. Bryn. Sprung, putting it deep. Dowell is giving chase. Great Britain gets the D. Goes over the top. Sweden calling the foul.
We're going to see the defender here come in from the backside, giving chase. Again, we see the Swedish huck to the sideline.
Disc was already passed at that point for where the Swedish player could have made a play. There was contact. Defender definitely ran into the back, but I think the disc was already tipped at that point.
I'm going to get a good look at it. And from that angle, it actually looked like the Swedish receiver had a hand on the disc. Great Britain arguing that the contact came maybe after the disc had been dropped. Certainly some contact.
Right, the Swedish receiver definitely had a hand on it at one point in time. Hand is there. It really does depend on when the contact was made. The Swedish player didn't have a great grip on it. Would have been a tough catch nonetheless. This one is being contested and going back.
You know, as close as that play is, I think it's okay to have it go back. Both players made a great attempt at the disc. There definitely was some contact. Send it back.
Gordon matched up on Sprung. Violation call off the start. We have 8 minutes till the time cap. We'll add 2 to the highest score at that point in time. Sprung. For anybody. Andre, pick called on the play.
With the cap coming on soon, this is a huge point for Sweden. Sprung, if he can, needs to take control.
Sundqvist. The upfield for Hogberg. Big opportunity. Great Britain with a catch D, and Sweden with a foul call. I'm not sure how Sweden had that disc in his hands. Great Britain defender was in between. That's
Great Britain had
one.
position. They got to the disc first. This is unfortunate that this one's going to go back to the thrower. As you can see, the defender's hand was actually in there, in between the offensive player's hand. Excellent defensive play.
Play restarts. Looking for the opportunity deep. Schumacher giving chase. Schumacher is there. Great Britain gets the D back.
And as they say, the disc don't lie.
And the noise is picked up here, both squads. Great Britain with a little bit of momentum off of that D. Really amped up the pressure there when they needed it most. Furnell taking his time.
The Swedes making it look like man-to-man defense. Don't be surprised to see this one fall into that zone.
Here they
again.
go. Just a different starting look. Furnell with a nice break. Parslow needs to have a give-and-go option available. Furnell. Gilbert. Back to Furnell. again through the cup, beating him twice forward. McDowell. There needs to be somebody attacking the middle of the field as well for this Great Britain defense. Furnell wide open to Gordon. Can't make the catch. Foul called on the play.
Furnell once again going for the great throw rather than just making the easy, good decision. We're going to see the defender come across with his right hand here. That was an excellent D by Sweden. That's a D.
Not sure. It doesn't look like Ollie Gordon stopped rotation on that one. Swedish team really ready to attack any floaty throw. Putting it out to space. Ford. Finding Furnell. Furnell needs to look to attack the middle of the field there immediately. Yep. Schumacher. McDowell. Ford. Ford does have the open option back. McDowell, Ford. Schumacher, McDowell. Parslow. Great Britain stuffs it in. This game is tied at 12 once again.
And again, every once in a while when you play that zone, they're going to get easy goals.
This is something that I think even experienced players have difficulty knowing what to do. You see Furnell get it on the sideline at about midfield earlier on the point, and he's looking up the sideline. I'd rather have him get it and look immediately through the teeth of the zone where they're not set yet to deal with him. They're spaced for a handler back. If Furnell gets it and looks for a player in the middle of the field, he's going to have 1 to 2 windows that he can stuff that backhand through. He was able to get it off after the fact, but if he had just not wasted the time with the down the sideline look, he could have easily gone through the middle and kept the breaks going.
Well, and it's on Furnell, and it's also on your offense to provide him with that option. The way the offense is set up, if he knows there's not going to be a cutter there, there's no reason to look. But I agree with you, Brian, that the options that they're taking are difficult choices, and they haven't made an adjustment.
Peterson starting things off for the offense for Sweden. Dahlberg flubs this catch. Score. McCartney comes down with it. McCartney looking upfield, goes to the break, and we have a block and a call on the play. Sweden just great marks in this game. Then Pelta Kangas.
No contest by the Swedish defender.
McCartney. Score. An overthrow.
Dahl dropped one. Tough break there for GB.
Sweden back on offense. Putting it deep. This one, Dahlberg comes up with it. Sprung. Dishes it. Dahlberg. Sprung up the line. Defenders there for Great Britain. Injury. That would be bad news to see Sprung go out of the game. Looks like he might have just taken a hand to the face. Shoulder to the face. That was quite the hit. Sprung looks to be okay. Dahl picking up the disc. Trying to strike deep. Wide open.
That is a monster throw by Julian Dahl, redeeming himself from the drop earlier. Throws a dime.
Dominic with the catch. Dominic with the second score of the game. First one coming off of a Callahan, and Great Britain back on top, 13-12 with time cap looming.
And that's what someone like Julian Dahl gives you, is just the ultimate confidence. Knowing that despite the fact he had just turned it over, short memory, immediately goes for the backhand hook, perfectly executed. Dominic runs onto the disc for the 13-12 lead.
We're figuring out now with our on-field staff if time cap is on. Could very well be a game to 15 at this moment. Right now we have a game to 15. Great Britain, a huge D there and score. Puts them in the driver's seat with this game. Now able to hold with their offense, but that has been a difficult task. Sorgren. Hogberg. The intensity has gone up. Like you can feel it in the air. Sorgren.
Here we go, Dahl against Sperung, and Dahl with a huge play for the D.
Julian Dahl gets up, gets huge. That's the first time I think he's won that matchup against Sperung. Not the best throw, but Sweden's not used to having someone be able to keep that much pace. Huge D.
And there's only a couple players in this whole tournament who can go up and get that D at that speed, and Julian Dahl is one of them.
There's a reason why they've been saving him for defense. Great Britain in the driver's seat now. A break here would put them up 14-12. Again, a game to 15. This one has been back and forth. Sweden breaking the start. Great Britain rebounding, going up 8-5. This one going up to almost no one. Tip in the air. Great Britain comes down with it. And Sperung is hurt again.
Great Britain coming up with a miracle catch. The disc gets tipped. Player goes down to the ground and the disc ends up in his breadbasket. Wow.
Chris Frazier with the catch.
You're going to see this disc get tipped by a number of players. Excellent concentration. Tries to kip back up. Sperung got undercut a bit and contact. Hits his head on the ground as he's going down. Tremendous awareness and concentration by Great Britain.
Fraser with the disc. Harris going deep. This one so far out in front. Collective sigh for Great Britain. Had a great opportunity there to go up. Teller picking up the disc for Sweden.
Sperung matched up against Dahl downfield.
Dahl really pushing him out. Doesn't want Sperung to get the disc underneath. Sorgren. Dahlberg. Hogberg. Teller.
Sperung getting frustrated downfield by Dahl. You can see at the left side of your screen, Dahl staying tight on Sperung.
Dahlberg looking for the huck. Call on the play.
The Great Britain defense is tenacious.
Harris matched up. Dahlberg looking deep. Great layout. Sorgren is there with the catch. Sprung just beat up right now, taking so many shots. Sorgren, though, beautiful catch. We are getting treated to a host of great plays, and I think the best is yet to come.
Sorgren, the tremendous catch.
Great Britain with a D, but we have a call downfield. Legitimate D for Great Britain. This one is coming back, all for naught. Just a reminder, after this game, we have USA versus Canada in the semifinal. Canada warming up in front of us right now, outside of the camera view. Stand starting to fill up. Up the line, pass. Hogberg comes down with it, and Sweden ties this game at 13. Great Britain really can't afford to hang their heads there. They have a 13-13 game to 15. You have your offense out in the field, you're receiving. All you need to do is trade out.
I agree with you. They're disappointed that they blew an opportunity off of an absolutely amazing play by Julian Dahl, and they just failed to execute on a wide open hook on the other end.
Should be no surprise to see a Swedish zone come down on this point. Great Britain has been able to beat it in the last several possessions. We'll see if they add a new wrinkle. Sweden with a pull. This one drifting out of bounds. They don't seem to mind the out of bounds pulls. It allows for their defense to set.
And it allows them to disguise their defense as well. This entire second half, anytime the pull goes out of bounds or anytime the disc is being checked in from a dead disc, they make it look like man, then it goes immediately to zone. And here, they're not even disguising it. They're just going immediately to the zone.
Furnell gets things off, now attacks. Furnell not hesitating with a hammer. Parslow, quick movement. Available is Parslow, and that is the best Great Britain has looked attacking this zone. Furnell knew what he wanted, didn't hesitate. Great Britain leads 14-13, game point.
And Furnell makes his offense look good with the perfect hammer. The mark was not there with the pressure as it had been all game, and Furnell drops a dime over the top. Game point for Great Britain, 14-13.
Just that hammer so far downfield. Great Britain really doing a great job there of spreading the deep, allowing Parslow to hug that sideline. We'll see if the Great Britain D can finish it off. Sprung has really gotten a handful from Julian Dahl in the last few points and gotten beaten up, like shoulder to the face, knocked over. Pull from Great Britain.
Dahl coming down on Sprung once again.
Teller. Sprung going to the break side. Dahlberg sending it deep, but there's a pick on the play. This one's coming back no matter what. U.S. fans watching for the first time. Wolf Duff rules. On a pick, everything comes back no matter what. There is no continuation. Again, USA versus Canada is the next semifinal. We'll have Lou Burris and Chase Sparling Beckley come in.
Surely we're going to have another entertaining semifinal. The Canadians victorious in 2008, much of that team back.
This huck going up. Great Britain comes down with it. Defense chance to win it. Harris has Gordon streaking. Excuse me. Score was streaking. Dahl going for the win. Hanging in the air. Can't come down with it, and a foul called on the play. McCartney was there. This got pinballed around.
Julian Dahl, without hesitation, launching another bomb of a backhand.
Not sure McCartney can foul that one. There was a clear push off before the play. Extended arm there, gives him position. And Hagberg is still there to get the D.
That's a great defensive play by Sweden. Unfortunately, under the rules that we play under, that's a call you can make, and as a defender, there's almost nothing you can do except for send the disc back, even though you've made an excellent play.
This disc is just going back. And it's hard to swallow that call when it's this late in the game. But we've seen those calls throughout this, very close strip calls, foul calls over the back. Every single one of them, I think, has been contested. We'll see
Dahl
if Dahl
still with the disc. Don't be surprised to see this one go up again.
Dahl might be doing it himself. Along the line. This one is out. Score can't toe the line. Sweden with another shot. Teller. Hagberg. All on the play. Dahl has found Spurung. Both of them jostling in the lane. Dahlberg, Harris giving chase. Hagberg. Helto Kengas going deep. This one out in front. Not hanging in the air long enough for Hagberg to run it down. Even rushes to the line. Score going deep. Score just with multiple mistakes here on this possession. First not being able to toe the line, then just ripping a beeline huck. Again, Great Britain leads 14-13. Sweden absolutely needs this point. Sweden stuck on the line, going deep. Spurung grabs it in with the left hand. That disc was on a line. Spurung putting it out to space. Sorgren. Sweden on the end line, looking for the hammer wide open. Makes the sliding grab, and we're going to Universe Point. Score holding his head down to the ground, knowing that possibly he could have saved possession there several times.
And now is not the time for that. His teammates need to be focused on picking up their offensive players, not picking him up because he made mistakes. Now is the time for exquisite mental focus from Great Britain. Score obviously disappointed for himself, but he needs to step up to that challenge and encourage his O-line to get the job done.
Again, we have universe point here. 14 all. Sweden coming in on defense, has utilized zone all game long. Would not be surprised to see them use it again, despite how Great Britain sliced and diced through the last one. For now, really just one-shot hammer opened everything up. Looks like it might come down to that one play.
The usual suspects take the line. Ford, Furnell, Gordon.
Great Britain, though, doesn't look like they're changing anything up with their offensive line. No reason to. Trust your offense to get the job done. Everything on the line here. Again, this was a rematch of the Euro Championship, and winner advances to the finals. Huge accomplishment for both of these countries to just get there.
Sprung takes the line. He's done it all today. Taking some lumps on his way as well.
Sweden with a pull. This one out of bounds. I just gotta wonder if it's part of their game plan, Mario. It's been happening so frequently. I don't know when the last time they put one in bounds is.
Tell you what, they're consistent. Furnell paces to the brick mark.
Furnell. Man defense for Sweden. Schumacher. Ford. Gilbert. Tough mark from Matson. Finding Parslow underneath. Parslow faking the hammer. Underneath. Ford. Parslow. Dish for the score. Great Britain wins. Great Britain's going to the finals of Worlds. Great Britain wins 15-14 over Sweden in an incredible game.
And Brian, I cannot believe we saw man-to-man defense from the Swedes. After an entire game of generating opportunities, they went away from their bread and butter at the most critical moment of the tournament. Give credit to Great Britain for recognizing and taking advantage. That was, I would say, the easiest, most efficient O point that they played, and it was because Sweden did not play the defense that they've been so effective of all game.
We talked about Sweden not going away from their identity. You got to question that call because Sweden has done that all game long. It's not as if they've shown a mix of man and zone. They've really stuck with that zone, and Great Britain came in. And maybe we would say, hey, if Great Britain hadn't seen man, maybe they get slowed down for a little bit or they're off their game. But you got to give credit to the Great Britain offense there, knowing, hey, it's man, let's run our normal offense. And they're able to do it from point one after not doing it all game long.
And yeah, as an offensive player for Great Britain, I'm thinking, sweet, I don't have to deal with this zone that's given us so much trouble. I can play man where they've had success.
We've got USA versus Canada coming right up. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian Jones from Mario O'Brien. This is Next Gen Network coverage of the World Ultimate Championships 2012.